You are now listening to the Lasting Legacy Podcast. Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of the Lasting Legacy Podcast. Before we continue, please subscribe down below if you're on YouTube, or leave us a comment and let us know what you are enjoying and what you maybe aren't enjoying about the podcast. But today we have two very special guests. We have Casey and Joey. They are owner of Thrifty Gents here in Pueblo, Colorado, and we'll get into what led them into the floral industry. So thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome. It's definitely an industry that I didn't see us having on, but I'm actually really excited.
Every industry.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
We're taking over the world, for sure. But I'm David, owner of David Tookit Photography, Videography, and I've worked with these guys. They're absolutely amazing. I think I might have worked with you guys on your first wedding.
You did do our first wedding.
See, look at that.
In 2019.
Joey was singing at the wedding. Yep. He was doing everything.
Wearing all the hats.
All of the hats and all of the things. But if you want to go ahead and introduce you guys and what you guys kind of do.
Go ahead.
Okay. We are Thrifty Gents Floral and Events here in Pueblo, Colorado. We came into inception really in February of 2019 and have sort of morphed into where we are now in our storefront and doing weddings and everyday floral.
And you don't just do floral, though.
So. I don't just do floral. I'm also the director of clinical services and the administrator for a local pediatric agency here in Pueblo as well.
Nice. Dang. So I'm really glad to have you here because that sounds like that takes up a ton of time.
It does. But I love both of the worlds colliding, and
awesome.
It's what keeps us going. So
absolutely. And Joey?
Who are you, Joey? I'm Joey. I was a teacher by trade, and we started this business. It took hold in 2019, but we started it in 2018 as a totally different. We were going to sell secondhand clothing. Is how we started it. Wow, that's where we got our name, Thrifty Gents, and we started that website and all of that. And then we thought, we don't really find joy in this. And so we were approached to do the wedding that you guys did. And that kind of just set a trajectory for us. So I was a full-time teacher, and now I went to part-time teaching. And then this year is my first year not going back to school today, actually. All the teachers applauding the teachers going back today.
Well, I mean, it's good for you. It's not really good for the children. But
I'm having a little bit of a mind flub, actually, because
I believe it.
It's interesting.
Yeah, usually you'd be getting ready, like getting your classroom ready and stuff like that, and now it's like, It's like your first summer after you graduate high school and you don't go to school.
And they're like, what are you going to do? Yeah. I'm definitely having that moment.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a weird feeling.
Do you feel like nervous, or do you feel like relieved, or how do
Both.
you? Yeah.
I'm excited. I would say it's more excited, but also nervous, because then it's for 3 years so far. I've been a teacher and owning this business, and now I'm owning the business.
You just wear one hat,
right, instead of two. So it's been kind of odd, because that was kind of, I don't want to say it was our trademark, but it was interesting to have where we both had our outside of the floral lives and then together. And so it's interesting to transition to that.
Yeah, absolutely. What did that transition kind of look like since 2019? Like, did you ever think that you could go full time with the business?
No.
I don't think we ever saw it here. No.
I don't think we had that vision when we started it. It truly was something we could do together. And it was a nice little way to bring a second income or third to the house. Yeah. But it was truly to find something that brought us together, brought us joy, and almost like a stress reliever, especially for him. Well, and for me too. I was doing theater at the time, theater teaching, and that's all encompassing. And he was growing his pediatric business. So it was something that kind of was almost, it's weird to say wedding industry brought us stress relief.
But it's cathartic in its own way. And I think that sometimes in the process you find something that is relieving.
Yeah, absolutely, delivering. And I'm sure when you guys go to the venue before everybody gets there and after you set up, you're like, oh yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and then 10 minutes later in the cocktail hour, it's all fucked up.
Yeah. It's total chaos. I think until that night we go to bed and we're like, how did we pull it off? And thank God we did. Yeah. And we kind of have that celebration where it's like, how did we do it? But when we started, it truly was, we took a few, I think that first year we did 2 big weddings and a couple of showers, bridal and baby. And we were like, this is awesome. And the next year we did maybe 10 weddings, and we were so happy about that. And then last year we did 46 weddings.
Wow.
So,
and learned a lot.
So we jumped right off.
And during COVID, we opened the storefront, and COVID really shifted our how we ran the business. We were talking about a storefront or somewhere where we could greet clients, meet with them in a professional setting where it wasn't like meet us at a
Starbucks,
local coffee place. And so we were kind of like, we need to put on a more professional front. And so the storefront was never intended to be even what it is now with the everyday. And it's morphed into kind of a whole thing, and now we're like, okay, we've been there 2 years now.
Oh wow!
In August, and we have
Are you
one
guys
more
still
year.
splitting the storefront? Because I know I went in there once during COVID, actually to buy some masks from Ruth.
So we share the space with Katie Pickerel owns Ruth Productions, and we shared our space with her, which has been really interesting because her business has shifted since we opened it too. And I think both of us are like, okay, we've got another year and then we're going to figure it out. And we always talk about we're kind of joined at the hip. It's like we go hand in hand a little bit.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
I mean, we don't really cross, like our businesses don't cross as much as people would think that they do, but it's just kind of one of those, we're joined. I worked with Katie when I first started teaching.
Oh, wow.
And so our relationship has morphed too. So it's nice to have her in the shop.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, I couldn't imagine breaking the bond at this point, man.
No.
Like you got to stay there. It's always going to have both logos on the door.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
So I know you said it was kind of a fluke how you guys got into it. So you guys are thrifting clothes and flipping them essentially. What kind of clothes?
Originally, and name brand, and it really didn't even become anything before it even coalesced. We were already moving it into a floral type of venue.
And the reason it even started was Casey dresses like this every day.
I was going to ask. I was like, damn.
He's always very put together.
And you're on lunch right now.
And all of his clothes we would find at the thrift store.
Yeah.
And so we were like, hell, if he could do it, we could do it for other people.
Yeah.
And that was just something we were starting to get into. I think TikTok was really pushing that trend of like eco-friendly and thrifting. And so we were like, why not? And then truly we were kind of like, this is odd, getting everything loaded. We're not tech savvy. Getting it loaded on the internet, we were like,
it takes a lot. Like you gotta wash it, like if there was dog hair on it, then iron it, and then take a good photo of it,
component.
and then list it.
And we were like, what are we doing? Like, we enjoy going and thrifting for each other, or, but we were like, we don't know if we find joy in that. And then that we got approached for that wedding, and it was kind of.
So I'm assuming that there was some experience with flowers. Nobody's just like, hey, Brad, do you want to
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
You know,
I was like,
how does that happen?
They're like, hey, I know you're going to the Goodwill a lot. Can you make some flower arrangements for us?
So we were approached to plan the wedding. So what had happened was when I lived in New York City, I worked in the bridal sector, helped with a couple weddings. When I moved back to Pueblo, I helped another local wedding planner do a couple weddings in town. And then she ended up moving to Springs and folded her business. And so an aunt of the bride that at the time approached me and said, you plan weddings, right? And I was like, I've done it. Would you help with my nieces? They need to get married fast, and we really need some guidance. And I said, well, why not? Like, we love to do it. We'll help. They were wonderful people.
Yeah, everybody in town.
Yeah,
we try. It's been great to have the connections. But so they kind of morphed it in the fact that we were helping plan, and then when we started to look at floral options, the florist they really wanted was booked for the weekend, and we were like, we really love it. And we had our business license. We had everything put in place, our wholesale license. We just hadn't done anything with it. So we were like, well, let's try it.
Yep.
And it truly was trial by fire.
And we just, we loved flowers. I grew up in a household, my mom did floral when I was younger. And when I was a kid, it was, fun to play around. And I've just always really loved plants. And so it was a self-taught progression. I think for both of us, we were definitely not experts by any means initially, but I think
Now we're just wannabe experts.
Now we're just
Hey,
No.
fake it till you make it.
But I think ultimately we just wanted to be good at it and researched and took some online courses and.
Well, and you wanted to be. You love nature. You love plants.
If I hadn't ended up as a nurse, I definitely would have done horticulture or botany or something in that vein. And it's just really tough living in Colorado, or landlocked and not in a tropical area.
Exactly.
So I think that type of job just didn't lend well here. So this was the next logical step. So.
No,
in about 10 years, I have a great employee. It'll be my son. Because he's 2 years old and he just loves going and watering all the plants with my wife. He gets so excited to water them. Yeah,
and that's how Casey was before we even started this. I mean, you would bring flowers to the house once a week just because you liked having them.
We had fresh flowers in the house every week just because it makes me happy.
Yeah.
So it was kind of
makes us happy.
So would you buy okay, we're gonna get a dozen roses, some baby's breath, and
Dozens,
we're just gonna
he would
I was gonna say
show up with the pre-bought package.
Yeah.
He would show up with different things and play with them, and it just was kind of a natural progression in the fact that we were like, let's try this. We had done it with, like I said, the gal that was doing wedding planning. She did floral a little bit, and so we helped with a wedding. When we first started dating, we helped her do the flowers for a wedding, and we were kind of like, we love this. We'll try it. And truly with that, and I think it worked with that particular wedding because they were by no means bridezillas.
Oh, okay,
nothing
good.
was stressful.
Yeah.
They were so appreciative and so wonderful.
And involved in the process.
And I was going to say, the
we
day
have
before,
wonderful pictures of them actually helping us place flowers and cut them.
Yeah.
because we had no idea what it would take, how much labor it took to produce. I mean, they had a huge wedding, and we kind of were in the thick of it, and all the aunts were there, and even the bride, they were helping with the flowers the day before, and we were like, if they wouldn't have come, I don't think it would have happened. So we learned a lot, and we pulled an all-nighter anyway. But we learned a lot with that one, and they were so lovely, and luckily they turned out pretty nice.
Yeah.
So it kind of, it gave us confidence, but it also taught us a ton in that first experience.
kind of where to price it too. I feel like when you first get your feet wet, you're like, let's do it. And this, you're in your head, you're doing a favor. And like my first wedding, I did a favor, and then by the end of it, I was like, okay, well now I know favors cost X.
And the favors are actually really wonderful to be involved in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the pricing it's interesting you bring up pricing, because I don't know if we truly got our head around pricing until last summer.
Yeah.
After I had already given
40-some weddings.
Well, the 46 weddings were interesting in the fact that I felt bad saying no, and it was a collision of the weddings from the year before.
Oh yeah, the reschedules.
Cancellations, reschedules, but also just I was like, oh, we could do this, and I didn't think logistically. I think everything we've learned has been trial by fire, and luckily, knock on wood, they turned out. We haven't had complaints about our product, luckily, which is huge for us because we always want people to be happy.
Of course.
But last year was really interesting in the fact that because I do most of the business side, and the pricing we learned a lot with 46 weddings, but also just how to do it, how to be like, if we give a bid 6 months out, it's going to change before. Whereas I was kind of being like, well, I'll stick to this, even though
I'll eat it.
I'll eat it. Or we had to hire more people because I took on more weddings for the weekend. So we learned.
And COVID made pricing and availability two very different animals.
Yeah, that is what I want to get into.
In 2019, you had the availability of wholesalers, multiple wholesalers, multiple price points, multiple products,
and beautiful products,
and consistently gorgeous. And then after COVID, and even at the beginning and well into the first year, there were, Holland wasn't shipping. We were losing out on California flowers. A lot grows here locally, but that only goes so far in our season, right? We have wonderful local flower farms, but that's not a 365-day-a-year solution.
No, absolutely.
So,
and we were getting a lot of product that wasn't salvageable.
Correct.
And that was disappointing too. But and then after COVID, because of you think about it, there were flower farms in, say, Ecuador. They weren't able to cut during a normal season.
Yeah.
Then the plants had to be cut down. Then they had to regrow. So it shifted the whole cycle of the floral world. And
that's interesting.
Look, price. Price is what used to be a $400 order is now
an $800 order,
$800.
and it's
Right. So we're
doubled or
talking
tripled
double.
sometimes.
Yeah. See, and I know, I mean, it's kind of interesting how the economy affects every business, but like you wouldn't think that it would affect flowers. You know what I mean? So like when California wasn't allowed to, ship and do weird things, like when the truckers go on strike, you're like, what the hell?
California is a ton of our product that we use.
Yeah.
That's why gas is such an important price point for everybody, and everyone freaks out because everything relies on gas because everything's shipped these days, so
Well, even our delivery from most of our wholesale flowers come from Denver. Now, that doesn't mean that's the origin of the flowers, but that's where they're coming from. And even our delivery charge in 3 years has gone up 3 times.
I bet.
And so, you have to like factor that in. You can't just be like, oh, it will eat that.
Yeah. And I think moving forward too, everybody talks about things going back to normal, and it's like, what is normal? Like, do you think they're ever going to reduce that delivery charge down?
No.
I think as an
stay.
industry, it stays, and that's the new floor.
Correct.
And then they move, free delivery, and then they just increase their price to make it look like that.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
And we're well aware of the fact that fresh flowers are a luxury item, right? This is a perishable luxury item that is desirable, right?
Yeah.
And that creates volatility in the market, in availability, in application, and that's part of the business, but I think that's part of what we like about it too.
I was going to say, I think that those challenges have made us, I don't want to say more successful, but resilient is the word. Yeah. Because it's made us think outside of the box, but also how to work with a client to be like, okay, you want this, we can't do exactly that in your price point, but we could do something over here that's going to mimic at least an idea of the look. And we love those clients that literally say, this is their picture of inspiration. This is not what I exactly want.
I want the Thrifty Gents
version
of that. Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah,
we love that, and of course we are florists. We do have some of those ones that come in with that picture and
they want
I need this. And they're like, well,
okay, then you're going to get that.
I don't know if you know that this is a UK wedding and these are UK source flowers,
And that's sometimes the problem is we just don't have the access to some of the...
I was going to say, like, how does shipping flowers go from, like, cutting it to, like, getting it here? And, I mean, my girlfriend got some sunflowers the other day, and, like, they look like they've never seen sun 2 days later, you know?
Yeah. Sunflowers are not as resilient as people think they are once they're cut.
I feel like it's day of. Like,
they kind of are, and it's really funny because those are really requested throughout the year, and we're like, they're not shelf stable. They look good for a while. It's
48
really,
hours.
I mean, it's really crazy if you think how long a rose lasts in the is in the cooler before you actually get it in your home. Like if you get a flower arrangement delivered. It could be cut 5 weeks before.
And they still look that good.
And they still look that good. Roses are really, people think they're not hardy. They're really resilient. They can sit outside of water. Like if you have a wedding spray and they don't have water, roses will still look good. They're going to bloom out.
Yeah.
But they're going to look really good. Whereas some other flowers have to be cut. We literally had a wedding last 2 years, August. Actually, today it came up on my time hop. 2 years ago today, we did a wedding and they wanted peonies. Well, peonies cannot be produced in a greenhouse. They have to be cut outside. So we had them. You overnighted them, right, from Alaska.
Yeah.
They cut them. A farmer cut them. They overnighted them. We used them the next day.
We forced them to bloom.
Yeah, we left them out so they could, because they come in like
how do you force a flower to bloom?
Warm water, cutting them. There's some tricks.
I was like, I don't want to give away the Coke formula here.
Roses will open differently than peonies.
Right. Lilies are, you have to force lilies to open.
Okay.
Like with hot boiling water or something like that. They're really crazy.
So these are the tricks you learn.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Holy YouTube
that's really
tips and
cool.
tricks.
Yeah. I mean, like the fact that you guys entered this kind of business and at the time you entered it whatever like you mentioned your resilience, like it shortened your learning curve as a business owner. I bet
we didn't have the luxury of time. It was a crash course because we had very limited product available, so you kind of had to make do with what you figure it out.
Luckily it was interesting learning.
So that is interesting too. So I'm assuming when you do place an order, you are accounting for waste within that order as
Yep.
well. Kind of like when you buy 2x4s, you
You're
know,
gonna
some
have
of them
a
are
broken
bent.
one.
Yeah.
You're gonna have dead ones. You're gonna have one that rotted
Molded.
and affected the whole package, and that's like the most frustrating.
That is
thing.
the most frustrating to find so roses come in packs of 25, and if you find one rotten in the middle, it impacts the 4 around it.
Yeah. So you've lost 5. Of
Yeah,
the
and you're
25
like,
pack.
well, I hope somebody
Yeah.
wants a baker's dozen of roses.
Yeah.
Right. No, we overorder.
We have to.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to account for waste. And that's been a really, like Casey was saying, in 2019, we didn't have to account for much waste
Yeah.
because it truly was a different market. Now we have to almost like 25%.
Yeah.
Oh wow! See, I was thinking 10% in my head.
In the beginning,
that's kind
it
of what
was
it was
about-
with like lumber and stuff like that. You know, dang. I mean, you only make that mistake once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go back to 46 weddings in a year. That's so. Was it like one every week? Did you have like multiple ones on same days? And
So let him explain how that sort of stair stepped a little bit.
But you
'Cause
can
that's-
explain how you dealt with it. Our marriage,
to die. I
our
wanted to
marriage barely
how
survived.
did the marriage survive? Actually, but yeah,
I truly was. I don't know what world I was living in when I was like, oh, we could handle a Friday wedding and 2 on Saturday.
One of them being out of town.
And
you know,
yeah.
some of them were
Well, and
pickups,
some
right?
were.
okay, yeah.
Some were
that
pickups.
makes sense.
Some were literally drop off in Beulah. It was really poor planning on my part. And so there were some weekends. I mean, we had one weekend we did 5 in one weekend.
Wow.
And I think that was the breaking point of like, we won't do this again.
Yeah.
Because, and especially you don't pay attention when you're booking out a year in advance. You're like, it's all right. We'll make it happen, you know? And so I just was living in that world and I was just booking. Now for like this year, I didn't do that to us. And even next year, I'm not doing that to us. So it was a trial by fire, but it also, there were a lot of people that were dealing with COVID that I really felt like I could not say no to.
Yeah.
I felt bad.
Because they were rescheduling from a year, 2 years
Yeah.
prior.
Everything's for them has already been postponed.
Yeah, I didn't want to be another person to say no. And so we learned a lot. We had some lovely people who helped us get through it. They learned, or we'd show them, and they were...
Yeah. And I think
They were
hearkening
learning-
we're a 2-man show, but our moms, our sisters, our,
some
friends,
dear
our
friends
family, like
become employees.
These are the hands that helped create, the visions that you're looking at on Instagram. And
sure.
His mother was back there creating things on arches and on tables. And,
that's
she doesn't
awesome.
get that recognition,
Yeah.
as much as we would like them to, because they're sort of that behind the scenes
Yeah.
creation. But it truly isn't possible without them.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it.
Well, and it was weird because when you divide the 46 by the calendar, it never was like a weekend.
I knew it couldn't be because there's not a lot of weddings
No.
in January and December
And that's the
November.
thing.
Very specific client.
Yeah,
for
there
that.
and we did have some, but like it was weird to have. It was always, and you probably get this all the time, David. When it rains, it pours.
Of course.
There's certain dates that become like that unicorn date that
You're like,
everybody
what
wants.
the heck? Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, how
My
come I
future
have to
wedding's
say-
3/23,
really?
but not on the 23rd because that's on a Wednesday. So 3/23/24. But yeah, like those golden dates, like 8/8/8, 10/10/10, like whatever.
Yeah, they just become so requested, and it's really hard to say no, but I've gotten much better at just being like, and trying to explain. You want us to, you want a quality product. You want us to be touching it, not having to hire 5 people.
Exactly.
So unfortunately, we're booked.
Because I'm looking at every stem that's going into every single thing, right? There's not going to be a dead
Casey's
head.
he's
I'm a little
definitely
obsessive.
No,
but
yeah,
again,
and you
right,
have to be.
I know reputation depends on that, right?
Exactly.
When a product goes out to a home, I want 10 to 14 days of that product in the home to be enjoyed, and I think that's what you're paying for, right?
Exactly.
When you're paying for a name and a bespoke product, it should be
Last.
It should be there. And,
Absolutely.
And that's, I think, why it's so important for us to not get too big, because then it dilutes the process.
Oh yeah,
right?
when the quantity goes up, the
Yeah.
quality kind of goes down,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Well, and the stress factor goes up. I mean,
does.
we truly, you talk about out of town. We literally had, I'll never forget, we were finishing up a wedding. He was with the crew at the convention center. And that was a weekend that we had 3 on a Saturday. And he was finishing up with the crew at the convention center, placing roses. I was like, we've got 20 minutes. I got there and to deliver like the bridal bouquet because I was making it at home. I got there to deliver. I was like, we have 20 more minutes. We've got to get the crew to Beulah because we've got to set up something there in a barn. And we finished that one. And then we had to deliver one to a church in town. And so it literally was like a triangle, and everything depended on the time.
Like, we cannot hit traffic.
There's no room for
there was no room for error, and it just luckily happened to work out.
That's awesome. Now, do you guys have a business vehicle at this point now?
We've converted.
So the hard part is you aren't consistently delivering, right? Because you have this spurt during the day that's like your daily deliveries, but unless you're doing a wedding, that vehicle is primarily your private vehicle.
That's what I'm saying,
we have a large vehicle that we use for delivery, but day to day,
transporting flowers. Like on Mother's Day, I got my girlfriend, I got my mom, I got my aunt, and I'm like trying to hold all this shit, and I'm like, how in the hell do they do it? That's my thought every time.
Holders.
So that's the thing. There are specialty holders, and that was a game changer too.
Huge.
You ordered those.
I found them on Chrysol website. Believe it or not, we were looking for supplies, and I found their special cut foam, and they graduate down in size, so they hold things, and if you spill on them, they just seep through. It's wonderful. Game changer.
Yeah, they were game changers. Because in the beginning, we were with boxes and newspaper trying to figure
buckets
it out.
like they do in the store,
Yeah, it was. We learned a lot with that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if they had the Thrifty Gents van. Yeah, at this
we
point.
we should
have
but,
a Sprinter at this point.
We lucked out on. We found this amazing expedition on Facebook Marketplace during COVID, and it's turned into our basically our van. We should just wrap it with Thrifty Gents.
Yeah,
at
I know
this
a guy.
Point.
No, that'd be awesome to see that thing parked
somewhere.
I feel like that would take over.
Park
the
it in
it
in the front for advertising.
Park it in the
for
front,
the 4 days.
Because you guys are in Midtown, so I mean,
we are.
You guys
can
could just park it right there by the liquor store, like
great people
true.
park it at the DMV all day.
Yeah,
it's true.
Just have to worry about the homeless still in it, but
and we got to make sure we drive well too. You don't want to cut
it is kind of nice
in
to
your
not be marked.
business van.
That's my. I've always thought of like I should wrap my car, but then I was like, I don't know if I drive responsibly enough to wrap my car.
To be identifiable.
Yeah. For the most part, Casey's much more respectful. Sometimes I'm in a hurry.
Yeah, me too.
I want flowers to get places.
I'm gonna get Google reviews.
14-day shelf life.
I've got to get them there in 100-degree weather. Yeah.
So
flowers were great. Driving was very sketchy.
Obviously, we talk about the positives and like doing like weddings and stuff. Now, do you guys get a lot of requests for funerals? Is that, switching gears, it kind of goes hand in hand with COVID.
It's not quite as ubiquitous for us to do the funeral work in town. I think some of the other providers that are much more long-standing do a lot of that work. They specialize in that work.
Here's the thing. I shouldn't say we enjoy, but we love to get an order for a funeral that we can customize it to the deceased to really...
they love this color.
Make it, and ask them about who this person was and try to make it more than just, if you order funeral, I don't know if you've ordered funeral flowers, but you go to them, they all have kind of the same look. They have the design, they use an S curve for the stands. That's kind of the traditional floral. We really try to think outside the box. We don't do a ton of floral work just because, like Casey was saying, the long-standing in town, they have a lot of deals with a lot of the
funeral home directors. Okay,
yes.
so they're
they're kind of established. So we do a little bit, and the few that we get to do, we really try to make sure we customize.
I do love that. Yeah. When we're adding, I think we did one with tennis rackets recently.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah, we try to bring in different things
to represent that person.
Meant something to them. We cut. We went to Arc one time and cut golf clubs in half.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And coming out. So
felt a little sacrilegious, but it was good.
We double checked with our brothers who know they weren't.
These aren't good clubs.
They weren't good clubs.
No, they were Wilsons. We're good.
Top Flight from Dick's Sporting Goods.
That's right.
That's my set.
Oh my god. You look like a Top Flight guy.
I bought the cheapest set of clubs to see if I actually liked golf or not.
That's a good move, actually.
Did you enjoy it?
I like it, yeah. The problem is what I found out is that I'm too tall for the cheap set.
The clubs
so now
that you
I'm
bought.
like, you got to go from like a
Customs,
$300
yeah.
set to like a
$3,000.
$2,000 set,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, I don't like it that much.
I'm not ready
Right.
to commit.
yeah,
I'm not good enough for this.
yeah, definitely not. So I
do
just
a lot of-
bend over a little more when I play. That's
Yeah,
about it.
We get approached a lot for like fundraising golf tournaments, and they're like, "You want to play?" And we're like, "We'll buy a hole."
I'll put my logo on a sign.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't mind being involved, but we're not going to play.
Yeah.
Actually,
I'll take some drinks and a sponsorship.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I believe it's your dad. I think he was my golf coach.
Oh, yeah.
Probably. I
It
was
was everybody's.
my
he was
dad was
everybody's
my
golf
dad
coach.
was my golf coach until he cut me from the team.
You know, I made that cut, so you know.
It's all right.
the skin
I
of
wasn't
my
good.
teeth.
I didn't have the patience for it.
No, it's an interesting game for sure. Now, are there any other business expansions that you guys are looking to do? Or are you just doubling down on floral and like event planning, or do you want to double down on the event planning side?
You know, we're trying to expand a little bit of the retail side.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Ironically enough, so my background in New York City was retail. I worked on the sales floor side, and then I went to the corporate side. And so I love the retail world, and that truly, before I even met Casey, I had filled out all the paperwork for Andanuccio LLC, which is our brand name. And because I was going to open a boutique here in town. That was kind of my vision.
Yeah.
Before I kind of went a different way with teaching, and I couldn't get over the fear of being a business owner at the time.
Absolutely.
And so we're expanding. We're trying to expand the retail side a little bit. But
So what does that look like, expanding the retail?
You know, gifting is huge. It goes hand in hand with the floral, but sometimes you have a lot of people who maybe are not floral people, right? Or you want to customize or add on to a floral delivery.
Yep.
So that's been good. But also just trying to find some unique stuff that might be just for you.
Okay.
And with Ruth Productions doing she does a lot of the t-shirt design. So we try to bring in like accessories to accessorize
custom
those.
shirts,
We bring in a lot of
whatever.
hats,
Again, that
scarves,
symbiosis.
to kind of
That's awesome.
blend the two
I feel like
brands
that's a good
together.
idea, and now both of those can kind of interconnect. Everybody eats a little bit.
And you can walk into the shop and buy ready arrangements out of the cooler as well.
Okay,
So
see,
not
that's
only
what I
are
was
we
wondering.
doing the delivery or wedding and event, but also you can just walk in on a day.
Yeah,
I think
you're just because flowers.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think that we have a lot of room to grow in the everyday delivery.
Absolutely.
Just because when I was teaching in the morning, it would be hard if somebody wanted a birthday delivery. They didn't want to wait till I opened at 12.
Of course,
right?
yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, so we did a lot of pre-orders. Like if they ordered the day before, I could go deliver them right away after I got out of school. But I think that we have a huge range to grow there too.
It's opening up opportunities.
Absolutely,
time-wise.
especially with you being your availability going up. You know, you can take on a few more things and wear a couple more hats.
Yes.
Maybe take the stress off over there.
Right.
You know,
I think we also want to look at people want to do classes. I think that's been such a trend within
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So we did a couple and they were really fun and successful. So
And I think we like, and not to toot our own horn, right? But I think we
Toot that shit.
do a very different style of floral, right?
For
We
sure.
did not learn by the typical constraints, and so having learned on our own, we weren't really consulting a manual or book. We were like, how would we do this as Thrifty Gents, right? And so our mechanics and how we would build something are not necessarily the same, which is why our product looks very different, right? And so
absolutely.
your casket spray at the end is not going to be the casket spray that's the traditional roses and gladiolas, right? Which is what we want. But that also translates into it's a unique product that people want to learn to try to replicate, right? Because if you're grabbing a handful of stuff from
the
King
grocery
Soopers,
store,
I want you to be able to throw that together at home. Like
That's a good
flowers
idea.
are expensive, right? And we understand, again, our product is a premium product. You're going to pay for something that's put together and delivered. Not everyone has that accessible, right? How can you make that accessible for the everyday and have floral available for special occasions, right?
Yeah.
So that's where
and
Joey
which
kind
ones
of-
to use.
Yeah.
And
I think the classes. I think they're such a cool idea. It's kind of
Just
like
so
painting
niche,
with
like-
a twist or
yeah,
something.
painting with
and-
a twist, all that stuff. They have the pottery classes. Like, why
There's not
wouldn't
a-
you turn it into, like a girls' night bachelorette party?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
There's not a
bridal
ton of stuff
shower.
like that
Yeah.
to do in Pueblo. I feel like.
Well, and a lot of people anymore, if you ask them if they want to gift, if you want a gift or you want an experience, a lot of people are going to say, we'd love to do an experience, have an experience. And so I think that we can really start to expand that more.
Yeah, my wife did like one macrame class, and now like that's her favorite hobby.
Yeah,
we set up a macrame section for her to make potholders.
like
and
it.
I mean,
stuff.
even
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
I mean, even teaming up with a class like that, you know what I mean? Maybe a 2-part. Like, all right, you have the thing that holds the pot. Now, what would look cool coming out of it?
Absolutely.
You
And
know?
and we love, I mean, that's one of our biggest things as our business. We love to support other local business. So we just started it a couple of weeks ago, a pop-up series where people can come in. If they don't have a storefront, they can sell out of our shop.
And I did see that. That's a genius idea.
Yeah, and what local baker we teamed up with a couple times.
Yeah,
We had
The
thrift
looked
shop,
amazing.
Thrift
Yeah.
shop.
okay, a
Yeah.
Moco thrift company.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it just, that whole idea that if in Pueblo, we love to work in our own little like
lane,
right?
yeah.
Nobody really likes to veer out, and we want to change it up a little bit.
I agree. I mean, same thing within my realm. You know, everybody kind of does their thing, and it's like, how do I get people together? Because, you know, like I think Tyler Showen said it, you know, like it takes an army to move a mountain. So if you have other businesses and stuff that are backing you and pushing you, like, one, it's good collaboration.
Yeah.
YouTubers do it all the time. That's
and
why
what
they're so
you
successful.
can't offer, someone else can.
Absolutely.
Right?
And I
it's
want you
all-
to know that you're in good hands.
That collaborative environment is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're gonna double down on retail, you know, pop-up shops, all that good stuff. Is there any other like avenues like outside of there that you're like, no, I think I'm good? I mean, I know you guys have, you know, big life-changing event in the works. You know?
So the adoption process was also a huge factor of why I stepped away from teaching, because looking at our salaries and cutting the teaching salary in half, it was like, are we going to pay someone to watch the baby once we get him? Or maybe
not beneficial.
It was going to wash it out. And so because we're through the adoption process, we want to make sure we get to bond really well with our future children. It made sense. And so that's kind of the happy balance, right? We do want to grow the business a little bit. We are so blessed with the support we've had with it, but it's also to kind of look at how our lives are changing and grow that.
Gain that freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Huge. I mean, that's probably the number one reason I think people go to start their own business. Really, is the flexibility and freedom.
And as you guys know, every year changes, right? So as your life morphs, you have children, you get married, you buy houses. Every year looks a little bit different
Absolutely.
than the last, in hopefully great positive ways, right? So who knows where Thrifty Gents is going to be, 4 years down the road, 3 years down the
Absolutely,
road. I would love to be in another space where we can have tables for classes and
bigger,
storage and those types of things. The current space is about 400 square feet.
Ish,
It's
yeah.
tiny,
Yeah.
right? But it's been more than functional for what we needed. You come meet us at the shop instead of with our 2 chihuahuas trying to chew you
Right.
out the door.
Exactly. You don't have people at your house.
Right.
Which is nice.
It's uncomfortable,
Yeah, it's
right?
very
And so
uncomfortable.
this gave us that springboard, I think, to gain what we know as today's Thrifty Gents confidence. But I would love to see space changes, or who knows what the future's gonna hold.
Absolutely. No, I think it's hard to plan for the future because it's so uncertain and you don't know, how things are going to morph and stuff like that.
We talked about it before we started recording about like me moving offices and stuff.
Yeah.
And you talking about that.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking was if I moved to a bigger office, I would want like a playroom or something, So that would be kind of something cool that you guys
Something
could
you
maybe
didn't think of.
incorporate.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
That way you have even more freedom,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring the kid to work every day.
Right. Exactly.
And we
exactly.
want that to be able to
Yeah.
have our kids incorporate and understand what having a business is like. I think that's
Absolutely.
for you guys too, probably an important component of your plans.
David's never having kids, so it's
No.
cool. But
Yeah. I got 3 bonus kids and it's
stepdaddy took it over
stepdaddy
there.
took it. Yeah.
Those are important too.
Very, very important,
It is,
Yeah.
They need, I think, more now than ever that example that it's
Yeah.
possible, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because growing through COVID was difficult.
It was very weird, still very weird, there's
weird.
still certain things that are like not right
Yeah.
and it's awkward. I don't know. Like for me, it's like when I put out something like on YouTube or whatever and I'm watching it back and one of my girlfriend's kids comes in and is like, "Is that you?" Or like I'll watch the podcast like back on the TV, and he's like looking at me like super weird. I'm like, anybody can put a video on YouTube, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
and we can watch it on the Fire Stick. So
One of my greatest accomplishment, every time the podcast music turns on, my son he's like almost 2 years now. He knows the music already, and he runs. He's like da 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 da, and like points to the phone.
That's cute.
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, all right.
See, I picked a good song, honestly. So are you guys involved with any community events? Are you guys going to be at any community events here coming up?
The most recent that we have coming up is going to be Pride, correct?
Yes, we're gonna have a booth at Pride.
Nice. Where's that at?
Mineral
Palace Park,
Oh,
where the
I'm
food truck
totally wrong.
union.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So
On the
that
same
one,
day, or
it's
is it on a Friday?
on a Sunday.
On a Sunday? Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sunday, August 21st.
Yeah.
And we just participated last night in Dancing with the Stars. We didn't I was a judge, but we also had a Thrifty Gents table.
Awesome.
Casey's on some boards here in town.
Yep. I'm on the Pueblo Community College Nursing Advisory Board. We are on the Broadway Theater League
Board. I sit on the Art Center board and the Zoo board and Rosemont.
I did
Museum.
not know the zoo had a board.
Yes,
if I'm
and
being
it's
honest.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
well, the zoo
Shout out
board
to the
is
zoo. I love
It
the
is
zoo.
so
Yeah.
Brad's
active.
always at the zoo.
It will, and that's the thing. We,
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things when we even started dating, we were like, we want to be involved in our community. We want to be able to give back and also make sure that things survive.
Yeah.
And the zoo is huge. I mean, my niece and nephew opened my eyes to that idea of you go there for even just a couple hours if you have that day or the year pass. I mean, that's awesome.
If
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
have kids, just get the yearly zoo pass. It's $60-$70. You can go every single day
It's
for
so
a year.
worth it. Yeah.
That and the Buell Children's
And
Museum. Both
Yes.
of those things,
Yeah.
I mean, in Pueblo, it's a must. For
Yeah,
me.
it's
great.
I love it. I take my son to the zoo once a week.
Absolutely.
It's like a dog park for children.
And we're so
Yes.
it's
That is a great
in the best
equivalent.
possible
We should
way.
use that in our next
Yeah, I
advertising.
love that. And honestly, our zoo is phenomenal.
It
we
is.
are blessed with a very beautiful,
Strong
strong zoo.
yeah.
For the size of the town and everything, you
Absolutely.
can't.
Yeah.
Towns this size don't have zoos like
And you
we
don't have
do.
to
Exactly.
hike up the side of a mountain to
Yeah,
do it.
like
you
Cheyenne
know?
Mountain.
Like, who wants to
Yeah.
hike up a mountain?
Cheyenne, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The
love
butterfly
the zoo.
pavilion is really cool. So if we can push for a butterfly pavilion, that'd be really
Yeah.
cool. Feed
There's
the birds.
there's certain things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just great going there. You don't have to like supervise your kid. You just follow him around and see what animal he wants to look at. That's
Yeah.
what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like you can get in there.
Yeah,
usually.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully.
Kids will
not.
find a way.
I'm sure.
There is one
anything
exhibit
happen?
over there where the hot wires are down, and there's all the animals always right next to you.
We better.
I do apologize for
can't
killing the
think-
zebras with my shanked golf
was,
on the short nine. Though.
Yeah, right?
That's pretty bad.
They just had the animal exhibit. I can't think of it. They just had a baby. It's kind of by the
it a hippo?
bison.
The
And then
Hawkins?
yeah. Yeah, the hot wires down, so one's always over there munching
Mm-hmm.
through the things.
They're so cute.
That's my favorite exhibit. Yeah, they're
I like the little mini deers. What are they? The dick-dicks?
Oh,
yeah,
Dick
those
Dicks.
guys are cool.
Yeah, they're
So looking
off topic a little
off
bit.
topic, you know,
That's all right.
Talk about the zoo forever. So what are some of your goals? I know we kind of touched around it, but short, medium, long term for you guys personally
Yeah.
and for the business. What does the future look like?
You first.
well, short term for me, like, is easing into this idea that it wasn't a hobby, but taking our very small business into the fact that this is now bigger than we ever dreamed it would be.
Scaled,
So that
yeah.
it's that short term getting in the mindset, getting in that routine. Middle, hopefully soon we have that baby and we figure out what that all looks like. And long term, every day is a win, right? That you're able to keep your doors open every day is a win. So long term, I think it's just establishing it to a point where it is truly self-sustaining.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and not.
And he won't ever say it, but there's always, I think, a certain aesthetic in mind, right? Like,
For sure.
he wants the vision in his head to be a representation of what we are able to offer in real life. And I think we both have a grandiose idea of beauty and want to bring some of that here, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, Those are some good goals.
What about you?
I always I plug MGA home care whenever I can, so I'm taking the opportunity. But I've worked for this company for almost 10 years now as a nurse and moved into administration in 2020. I really love pediatrics, and I really love Pueblo, and I think that what we're able to do here is so special because I get to walk by and see David casually, even, at the grocery store or whatever. And I love that, having that connection and in our community and knowing the faces that I'm dealing with and that I'm providing nursing care for and therapy and those kind of things. But the really beautiful part of that is even as much as I grow and as much success as MGA has, when I go to an awards dinner or I meet someone out in the community, I recently did Zubu last year with the Pueblo Zoo, actually, and so many people stopped by and were like, "You're a Thrifty Gent," and that to me was like, that was just as special as any nursing thing. You know what I mean? I have always been a very proud nurse, but that to me in this community means so much, and to be recognized and people are so excited and they're like, "We love your work and we love what you guys do and it's so beautiful and different," and I really am grateful for that. And I think long-term goal for me is just keep bringing that beauty, you know what I mean? Yeah. And whatever Thrifty Gents looks like in 5 years, I don't think it's ever going to die. It's just going to become the next evolution, right? Yeah. And whether that means a new space, whether that means a new face of the business, whatever that looks like, take it in stride, right? Because Pueblo's growing and changing every day. Absolutely. And in many ways rapidly and greatly, and our population, I've watched it grow over the past 2 years, just paying attention to our census for healthcare provision. It's incredible. So I think we really are on the cusp of a renaissance in a lot of ways. So I think we're riding on the coattails now of the next step of what Pueblo is growing into, and I'm grateful. So.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, you can start increasing your rates because we have a lot of, people can say what they want about transplants, but like you have a lot of people coming from all over the world, all over the U.S. and stuff, California, Texas, whatever, and they're used to paying premium for premium experiences.
And they want the premium experience.
And that's what they want. They want exclusivity. They want to have a genuine product, So why not be that person to fulfill that? You don't want to be the go-to guy for like, oh man, like his work's but like, I always say that with photos. Like you can go to JCPenney's to get your photos done. Are you going to be blown away? Probably not. Right. Will it suffice? Absolutely. Sure. Your phone will suffice, but if you want something that's going to be timeless and to really capture that emotion and who you guys really are, like you have to choose a professional that will capture that for you. Whether it's me or not me, I'm okay with either or. I just want you to have the best quality. Yeah. And that's what I strive for.
There used to be a Pueblo price. A lot of times there was a Pueblo price. Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't think a lot of people offer the Pueblo price anymore.
And I think ubiquitously that applies against real estate, vehicles, goods,
services.
Walmart
services, whatever.
Walmart's not offering a Pueblo price, so I'm not either.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, and with that goes, going back to like being a teacher, you offer it, but you have to explain why. I think it's with education is that whole idea of like, this is why it is this way.
Absolutely.
This is what it means, or if not, then it's just thrown out there. But I think that so many people are getting used to that idea, and people are craving a quality product.
Absolutely.
They're willing to pay for a quality product.
And everything.
And the customer service that goes along with that quality product.
Exactly.
And I think giving back to the community like you guys do with so many different things, I think that's way more powerful impact than selling flowers cheaper than you should.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And we've been so supported, and we say this in our videos on our social media all the time. We are so grateful for the support that Pueblo has given us that we constantly, it is a full circle. It's that whole idea of we give back, they give back. It's that constant
The reciprocity
cycle.
Is necessary to keep it functioning.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then we do have a reoccurring question on the show. We'll do them separately too, because you guys are two of a whole.
Sure.
What do you want your lasting legacy to be? What do you want to outlive you and your flowers?
I think just touching on it previously, like I want to be remembered for bringing beauty, right, and something special. And I think that's really what we work toward every day. Both from the healthcare side for me is providing care that 10 years later, when I run into that child on the street, they walk up to me and they're like, "Do you remember me?" And I do, generally, and they're like, "You did an IV for me when I," and it's like, "Holy cow, look at you, you're crazy, you're tall now." And I love that, and I love being remembered for that, and I want that same legacy, I feel like, with Thrifty Gents, to remember, like, you did my wedding
Absolutely
10 years ago, and I still think about how beautiful that bouquet was, or whatever.
Absolutely.
People, I want them to have that memory of us and think fondly of what we've done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and to build on that, I think it's not even just doing their wedding. I think for me, with the lasting legacy, and we've already seen it with that very first wedding we did, we got to do her bridal shower, her wedding, her baby shower, her cousin's wedding, her cousin's baby shower. I mean, that to me is already a lasting legacy in the fact that we are already getting to build relationships with people that keep coming back, that we get to know their family. I mean, they call us family, and not just them. I mean, we've had so many experiences with lovely human beings that are just, they become part of our circle.
Yeah.
And that to me is the lasting legacy I want. At the end of the day, 20, 40 years from now, hopefully the business is still there. If I'm gone, I want the legacy to keep continuing, that it's that reciprocity, it's the community outreach, it's the beauty, it's the relationships, because that to me makes the business. Anybody can offer a product,
Absolutely.
but it's the connections.
It's the way that product makes you feel, or the way that service makes you feel.
Yeah, and just knowing that they're happy. I think that's been we love what we get to do, but we want other people to love it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
No, that's huge. Once again, I want to thank you guys for coming on and chatting with us. And now I know that there's a zoo board, so support your local zoo. Right?
Yes.
But no, it was super awesome, and I can't wait to see your guys' continued success. And I'll help out anywhere that I can. I try and tag you guys wherever anyone's looking.
I gotta say, we love working with you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun. You never know what you're gonna get. We're in the thick of it with our boots on, but hey, it always works out.
Everyone's different,
right?
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Check them out. All the links for them will be down below. Follow their Instagram. They have amazing photos of all their work from amazing photographers that they've worked around with at weddings and stuff. And I think that's cool that you get to shout them out on the back end as well. Like it's a 1-for-1. It's super awesome. But check us out anywhere you get your podcast. Every Thursday we drop the video live on YouTube. And links to everybody's Instagrams and stuff will be down below. Good night.